Warhammer 40,000 universe in turmoil, the forces of Khornate Chaos have come into contact with the Dark Angel's Deathwing on Lava Planet X. The reason for their impending battle is as follows. The Emperor, preparing for the arrival of Rabute Gulliman, had a little tidy up of his palace, and in his haste he has disposed of a sacred artifact which has made its way down onto this planet, which is known as the trash heap of the Imperium. You see, it's so hot here that the Imperial forces deposit all their waste on this planet, and it is incinerated safely and humanely. That artifact that the Emperor so foolishly discarded is rumoured to be housed within one of these 3 piles of rubbish. So the Deathwing have been dispatched to retrieve the artifact and anything else that may have been inadvertently cast aside by the Emperor and his foolhardy companions up there in the palace. So this mission is a little bit of a hybrid. We'll be obtaining victory points in the same way as the No Mercy mission for every unit that's destroyed, Line Breaker First Blood and slaying the Warlord. In addition to that, there are these 3 potentially very valuable areas down the centre of the battlefield, and being within 3 inches of one of those with no enemies nearby at the end of a turn will grant a victory point, starting from 2nd turn onwards. 70 power points per side for the forces. So, starting with the forces of Khorne, what do we have here in this crater?
I've got my Warlord, which is Khorne the Betrayer.
Hiding behind a tree?
Yeah, hiding behind. Well, he likes picking berries in the summer, so keeps him regular. Stood next to him is a squad of 5-man squad of Chaos Space Marines, one with a heavy bolter. Next to those guys is a Rhino, and inside that Rhino is a squad of 10 more Berserkers. Stood behind this barricade here, we've got a standard squad of Chaos Space Marines with 2 melter guns in that lot. Then I've got a model that I've only just painted, so I've had to bring it. I hope it doesn't get new model syndrome and get blown up in the first turn. But this is my Renegade Knight. It's got its Avenger Gatling cannon, big choppy chainsword, and its Spearhead missile rocket pod, I think it's called. And then last but not least, in reserve, I've got a squad of Raptors, which are gonna deep strike in a second, and those guys are packing 2 melter guns.
On the Dark Angel side, we have a Land Raider Redeemer, and that's it. Nothing else has been deployed on the battlefield for the Dark Angels. That's because within the Land Raider, we have an Interrogator Chaplain in Terminator armour and 5 Deathwing Knights, and then ready to teleport their way into the battle at some stage, we have 10 Terminators in a unit, Cyclone Missile Launcher, Plasma Cannon, a few Thunderhammer Storm Shields, a couple of Chain Fists in there. We have Belial also waiting to teleport in, and then we have a 5-man unit of Terminators with an Assault Cannon and a couple of Thunderhammer Storm Shields, another Chain Fist in there as well. So not very many models for the Dark Angels. So a bit of a wide shot for you there. You can see that it's pretty sparsely populated with models, but plenty of terrain and plenty of drama to come, I am sure. So the Deathwing had the choice of going first or second, barring any initiative stealage. However, I decided to turn things over to the forces of Khorne and let them go first, to be nice and sporting. And as far as movement went, this unit down here, this rather foul and depraved unit of Chaos Space Marines, moved up into the ruins. They decided to try and run as well, but they only went a single inch with that. Over here, the Rhino, carrying the Khorne Berserkers, has moved closer to this objective, ready for next turn, and everything else edged up a little bit. The heavy bolter from this unit took aim at the Land Raider and didn't do anything to it, but you'll see that it has taken some damage. The little wound dial on there clues you in that it's down to 12 wounds from 16. It took those 4 wounds from, of course, the Knight and its huge Gatling weapon. The rockets weren't quite as effective, unfortunately, considering they could have done d6 damage each, none of them actually wounded. So, Not too much to speak of going on so far. It's going over to the Deathwing now, and I have a feeling it's time for some deep striking. We've finished with the Deathwing movement phase, and as you can see, the Land Raider has worked its way up towards that ruin. You'll notice over here that the unit of 10 Terminators has dropped down, aiming all its weaponry at the Knight, with Belial right behind them as well for some protection. And over in this corner, the small Terminator squad has dropped down, possibly foolishly, near Khorne the Betrayer and his tiny little squad there, hoping to cause a bit of pain with their shooting as well. So going into the shooting and then potentially assault phases. We're now at the end of Deathwing turn 1, and the Land Raider only managed to kill one Chaos Space Marine in the ruins, and they made all of their armour saves from the twin assault cannons as well, which was very impressive. Most of the damage was dished out on the Knight. So first of all, the Land Raider's multi-melter took aim, and as you know, multi-melters never hit. Well, this one did. It got all the way through all the various shenanigans it needed to, and then it did D6 damage, and of course, rolled a 6. So there was 6 wounds off the Knight instantly. Then all these Terminators aimed their substantial firepower in its direction as well. The Cyclone Missile Launcher dished out another 3 wounds, and I think it took another one from the Stormbolter hail of bullets. So it's down to 14 wounds from 24 this Knight. It needs to take 2 more wounds to be knocked down a power threshold, so hopefully we can do that soon enough before it kills everything. And over here there was one more casualty as a result of the Stormbolter fire and the assault cannon over here. One of these Chaos Space Marines also died. End of the Khorne movement phase, and the Berserkers have unloaded from the Rhino, and they've made their way in this direction, closing in on the Terminator unit. The small, innocent Terminator unit that wouldn't hurt a fly, they're now being surrounded by Berserkers and Khorne the Betrayer and a small unit of Chaos Space Marines, so they may not be long for this world. In the middle, this unit of Chaos Space Marines have moved up to the edge of this ruin to be close to this objective here. Maybe if they get lucky and blow up the Land Raider with their bolt guns, they would then get a victory point for it. And over here, the Knight is moving in for the kill on these Terminators, still going to be able to shoot at them and then charge them. And behind Belial, being very sneaky, we have these Raptors that have dropped down, and there's a couple of melter guns in there, so they're aiming to scorch Belial's butt cheeks with those melter guns. Khorne shooting phase, and how embarrassing, a Terminator falls from repeated bolt pistol fire. Oh dear, so that's an embarrassing death for him. Not quite so embarrassing, but still pretty bad. Over here you'll notice this Terminator squad that was 10 models strong is now only 4. That's because they failed an unprecedented number of relatively easy saves against the Knight's Gatling weaponry. Bad day for the Terminators. Wow, so they could get crunched in combat next as well. The Raptors failed to do anything to Belial despite trying to scorch his rear end, so now it's into the charge phase and then fighting. The end of the Khorne 8 turn 2, and as a result of the combat you can see here that Khorne the Betrayer, he actually failed miserably. He only did 1 wound I think, and then the Khorne Berserkers offed most of the Terminators and the Sergeant couldn't kill any in retaliation. So he's swamped there after they all made their charges. There weren't any failed charge rolls this turn actually. As we sweep over to this side of the table, you will see that the Raptors made it into Belial, and he killed one of them. They didn't manage to wound him, and the Knight stomped down a couple of Terminators, couldn't finish off those final 2, and they put 1 wound on him, and they did another one with Overwatch on his way in as well, which was enough to put him down to the next power threshold, so he's now slightly weaker. And nobody required a leadership test because Deathwing units don't need to take them, and none of the Chaos units took enough casualties. So it's going into Deathwing turn 2, and I think it's time for the Knights to pile out of this Land Raider and save the day, otherwise it's going to be a very long night for them. As far as victory points, the only victory point that's been won so far, right here with the Rhino, is going to be picking up 1, and actually down here, I believe these Raptors are within 3 inches of this pile as well. So that's going to be 2 victory points for Chaos. Deathwing turn 2, we've been through the movement and the shooting, and as a result, also the charge phase in fact, the Deathwing Knights have now made their way into the Knight. The Interrogator Chaplain got out of the Land Raider as well, and he fired off a Stormbolter salvo into this squad. I think he may have actually killed one, but then he failed his charge, so he's just stuck there out in the open. Lots of units in combat up here. The Land Raider shelled out some serious firepower. It killed a few of these guys, hiding in the cover there, so that was enough to save some of them, and then it shot its multi-melter into the Rhino and did 3 damage, which is why it's currently steaming and smoking away there with flames pouring out of the transport section, which luckily for them has no one in it right now. So it's time to go into the fight phase, and the Knights will be going first. They'll be hoping to, in the Knight Civil War as it were, they'll be hoping to take out the Chaos Renegade Knight. So we've reached the end of the Deathwing fight phase, and the Knights did some fairly serious damage, along with a nice power fist hit from around this side. So the Knights went first, and they knocked him down to almost his lowest threshold. They actually rolled really badly with their maces. So then I was forced to activate these Terminators around here, and the power fist just knocked him down to his final threshold, which means that he's now much worse in combat, only hitting on 5s, which resulted in 0 casualties when he tried to hit the Deathwing Knights. So it's a big difference from when he was at his maximum last turn, killing 6 Terminators, to this turn where he kills absolutely nothing. So this fight is looking good. Down here, Belial killed a couple of Raptors, and they couldn't wound him in retaliation. But of course, if we work our way over to this side of the table, you can imagine that the final Terminator Sergeant, yeah, he's not there anymore. 1,000 berserkers round him, so he just died instantly. Looking back, he probably should have just moved out of combat this turn and forced them to spend another turn killing him. But alas, these are the lessons that will be learned when there's a new edition of a game. So, going into Khorne turn 3 now. End of Khorne turn 3. Over here, all these units have just moved in this direction, trying to get back towards the game, and with their run move they actually made it to within 3 of this objective here, which they're going to be searching for the Emperor's relic, so they're going to get a victory point there. Over here, the Land Raider is significantly wounded. It's just clinging on. It's been dropped down to its lowest power threshold, so it's not going to be that effective when it fights in a minute. It took lots of melter fire from all about the place. You can see that these Raptors leapt up onto the rooftop and they chipped in a bit as well. So they didn't fancy sticking around in combat with Belial. Someone else who didn't fancy sticking around in combat was the Knight. He has the ability to move out of combat and then also charge again and shoot his weapons. So he moved away, fired at the Knight, did nothing, then charged into the remaining 2 Terminators. The Overwatch from the Terminators actually killed the plasma cannon, so it overheated and exploded, killing him as a result of the Overwatch, and then he killed the final Terminator in close combat. So that unit is annihilated. The Chaos Force has already picked up first blood last time though for killing the small Terminator squad on the other side. So going into Deathwing turn 3 now. Not too many models left, the game is getting pretty quick now. Deathwing turn 3 was quite an eventful one. You can see here that the Knights abandoned their pursuit of the Renegade Knights. They made their way into the ruins and killed all but one of these Chaos Space Marines. The Land Raider unleashed its firepower at the Rhino, did a bit of damage to it, missed with its multi-melter at the Knight because it's been so diminished that it's now hitting on 5s, so not very accurate. The gunner's looking out through all that smoke, and then the Land Raider did the unthinkable. It charged the Rhino. So in their epic ram battle, no damage was inflicted. Whoop-de-doo. Over here, the Chaplain climbed up the ruins and assaulted the Raptors and killed one of them after firing his Stormbolter heroically towards the Knight. No effect though. The Knight is no more damage than it was at the start of the turn. So going into Khorne turn 4, after the Deathwing have just picked up their first 2 victory points. One for this pile of beautiful potential Emperor's artifact rubbish there, and another one over here that Belial is holding. So 2 victory points. Look at that, 2 against 4 at the moment, as we head into turn 4. End of Khorne turn 4. And down here, the little headbutting duel between the 2 tanks came to nothing again. This little Chaos Space Marine decided to run away from the Knights to preserve himself for another turn. And over here, the Berserkers and Khorne have worked their way a little bit closer to the action. You can see they're still a fair way away, but the Knights may head towards them in a moment if they feel like it. Down here, Belial is dead as a result of the Knight blasting him with everything he's got, and he is toast. So a victory point for Slay the Warlord, a victory point for this potentially precious pile of putrid stuff over there, and here you can see that the victory points are actually up to 9 for Chaos, because we forgot to add them on for units killed. So it's not looking good for Deathwing at the moment. Going to have to kill a couple of units in this turn to even things out a bit. Deathwing turn 5. The Land Raider moved away from the Rhino because it's fed up of that duel, and over here the Deathwing Knights successfully charged into Khorne the Betrayer, and first of all the flail put 2 wounds on him, so he was down to only 3, meaning that 1 successful wound with any of the mace attacks would kill him. 4 wounds were inflicted, but he made all 4 of his 4+ invulnerable saves, wouldn't you believe it? So he survived improbable odds by the skin of his chaotic teeth. He then struck back, did a ton of wounds, but the knights made all their saves as well. So no death at all going on over there. Over here, the interrogator chaplain popped down from the ruins just to claim this sacred potential artifact site, so there's a victory point there, but he couldn't gun down the final raptor in the ruins, unfortunately. So I'm just moving up to 3 victory points. Chaos is still on 9, and potentially the last turn for each side coming up now, so Chaos first. Khorne turn 5, and there was quite a bit of killing. Not down here where the Rhino decided to charge back into this pillow fight and do nothing, but over here. The Deathwing Knights, they did actually manage to kill Khorne a turn later than they would have liked, because now the Berserkers are in there and see that 3 of the Knights are dead as a result of all this carnage. Pun intended. And over here, very little was accomplished, because all the shooting attacks, this guy lobbed a grenade, the Knight took aim at the Chaplain hiding under here, but nobody could hit him, and it also took aim at the Land Raider, but the only thing that actually wounded the Land Raider this turn was a grenade lobbed by this Chaos Space Marine hiding down there. So, in terms of victory points, Chaos aren't picking up any for the artifact sites this turn. The Dark Angels did get 2 for killing Khorne, 1 for slaying the Warlord and 1 for just killing an enemy unit. So it's currently 9-5, Dark Angels may only have 1 turn left, so it's looking bleak, but we shall see. Deathwing turn 5, very quick and not very eventful. So the Land Raider backed away from the Rhino again. It's not going to help much, but at least it's getting closer to the Knight, just to threaten it a bit with its rear end. Over here, the Chaplain gunned down the final Raptor. He was in position to charge, but he didn't even need to, so a victory point there, and a victory point for holding on to this. Over here, the Deathwing Knights, the Knight Master killed 4 Berserkers on his own because of his magical flail that spills damage over between models, so against single wound units he's very, very potent, but then they killed his buddy, took away his final wound in retaliation, so he's fighting potentially a losing battle there. And although the Watcher in the Dark is still there, keeping him safe from psychic powers that don't exist in this particular game that we're playing here, and if we look at the victory point counter, you can see that it's been reined in a bit by the Dark Angels. It's 9-7 to Chaos at the moment, and if I roll a 1 or 2 right now, the game will end. 3+, the game goes on for another turn at least. Here we go. It's a 5, so we get another turn, at least 1 more. So Chaos are going to have first crack at it though. So let's see if they can do some more killing, spill some more blood for that infamous god of some kind of red substance. Chaos turn 6, and as you can see, the Land Raider is dead. The Knight's Gatling weaponry from over there did him in the end, unfortunately. He only had a wound left, and this guy with a grenade couldn't finish him off, unfortunately. He was hoping for that. Down here, the Chaplain is still sitting pretty. So, because of the various kills, including the Deathwing Knight Master that finally went down over there among the Khorne Berserkers, that has put the Chaos forces up to 12 victory points. Dark Angel's only on 7, potentially the final turn for me, and the Chaplain is the only model left. So here we go, turn 6. So end of the Deathwing turn. It was a very, very quick one. The Chaplain just ducked into this piece of terrain here and then fired at that Chaos Marine, but he survived. The Deathwing never amassed a victory point for sitting on this, so it's now 12-8, and on a 4+, the game continues. It's over. The Chaos have unfortunately reigned supreme in this realm. Khorne the Betrayer's armour was suitably thick, the Knight was suitably stumpy, the Rhino didn't really do anything. Annoying. It was suitably annoying. It was good at crashing into the Land Raider that was significantly damaged and just keeping it unable to participate in the battle, really. So the Chaos are going to be pilfering these precious putrid piles and no doubt plundering some possible things. So the Knight survives, it can go away and be repaired by the foul Chaos Priests. The Rhino is going to be hobbling away as well, maybe with 1 track hanging off, but the Dark Angels, all that's left is the Interrogator Chaplain, and the only person he could really interrogate under these circumstances is himself, because everyone else is dead. So he's going to have a fun time chatting away to himself in the ruins as Chaos begin their sacrilegious search for suitably succulent, special things. We're going to have a left-handed handshake over the top of this piece of terrain here,